Now that we've gone through some of the basics, we can now dive in on the advanced techniques of the game. These are not advanced sense that you need to, or in the sense that you need to have an X amount of game time before considering any of these options. It's rather that I did not want to bog down the basics of the game with how to optimize certain portions of the game. The game has a repeating narrative through the colors that it uses to tell the story of buildings, characters, classes, reforms, everything. You'll look to this color scale to really optimize your experience in Three Kingdoms. This is going to be a bit more free-flowing than our previous video, as I will be bouncing across many facets of the game to explain how to optimize or focus on certain parts of it. In fact, this actually might be a much smaller video by comparison, just because we're not going through every little nuance. So let's get started, and we have a lot to get through with this. So we'll start with the Commandery, because your Commandery is really going to be the driving force of a lot of things. And your initial commandery dictates how your faction will be built out, from its individual administrators, from its individual buildings, from its reforms, everything. Gone are the days of other Total War games in which you would pretty much just choose the same pattern of every single settlement to build up, right? Okay, I'm going to build a growth building, I'm going to build an income building, and a public order building, or a population building, whatever it was, really. In this game, it's not so much that way. You are very much kind of relegated to what you have accessible to you. So as Sun Jian, you start off like right here. And this is the first real commandery that you can gain control of. And with that, we have a number of things that we can take a look at. So this is a small city. And the small city then has 3 settlements attached to it. The trade port, the armor craftsman, and then the tea house. Let's hover over the tea house here. Left click that. I can see that the income that it generates is from commerce. Great. Awesome. I can even right click this. I can see that I can increase my commerce income with the tea garden and the grand tea garden. Furthermore, so let me backstep a little bit here. Each one of these buildings will always branch into one or the other, and the branch will always be gaining one thing to sacrifice another. So in this case, the Grand Tea Garden will give us an increase to our income from commerce by 180, but we get a 20% trade influence. By comparison, the Grand Tea Plantation will give us a higher income from commerce, but we won't get any trade influence. So you always will have a trade-off for whatever you want to do here, right? As you see. Now, commerce is, again, we'll focus on that in a second here. Now, our armor, or our famous armor craftsmen, they produce ancillaries for you, which is pretty cool. This is not going to really affect your economy much. It does give you reserve capacity, which is nice, but for the most part, not a whole ton being done there. Now, our coastal trading port. This one's important. Now, you're, again, going to get income from commerce. Progress up, you can see that we're going to go to our level 4 building, then to our level 5 building, and we can choose high commerce income and industry income split, or highest commerce income with income from spice as well. You get to really determine how you want this to work, and you also need spice as a resource to create this one. You have to be mindful of these things. All these things will have a padlock that'll tell you, okay, required reform needed, required resources needed. So you need entrepreneurs, you need spice, and you need Silk Road Expedition. So in order to unlock those, you need that. Now, what's the point of me telling you all this? Well, we have got a coastal trading port. It is blue colored. It just so happens that our tea grower community is also giving us commerce, but it is not blue colored. So this is really going to just trying to ignore that for now. But in your commandery, you want to focus on what is going to give you the most benefit. So if I look at my settlement administration, or my actual tea house here, I can see that the inn generates income for us. Furthermore, it increases income from commerce. That's the big thing. You want to stack buildings like this as much as you can. For instance, if you're playing Cao Cao, Cao Cao has got access to a ton of farmland. So having the land development, which increases your food production and income, is a great idea. But more importantly, government support, which increases your percentage of income from peasantry, is even more important. Because as you stack this income from peasantry, you will start to get more and more income coming your way, because you'll be producing so much food. In addition to that, you can choose to branch it. Do I want more food and less income from peasantry, or more income from peasantry and less food? Again, we'll always have that branch there. So in order to optimize your commandery, you need to look at what you have at your disposal. Okay, I have a crap ton of commerce, right? 140, 130, and this building gives us an additional 210, but a 60% increase. So when I hover over my income here, my commandery is getting a 240% bonus to its income from commerce. That is going to allow you to snowball your income and really optimize what you're getting. I think that the first few times people play, they won't see these kind of overlapping trends because we haven't had so much diversity from income in previous Total War games. So be mindful of that. Really look to it. Really maximize your income as much as you can from just buildings alone. I haven't even gotten to the other portions of it. So usually every single of these 3 buildings, you'll have something that'll produce within that, something that'll increase production within that, and something that'll also supplement the overall arc of it. So if I look at the inn, this is going to give me income from commerce, but increase my commerce. Now look at marketplaces. This will straight up give me income from commerce as well as benefiting as well, but mainly trade influence, the big thing here. Schools though, nothing. It has nothing to do with commerce at all. It'll give me a whole different slew of benefits, and that's character experience. Again, it has to do with the kind of theme that creates. Now, we've talked about the buildings. What about the reforms for it? Now, unfortunately, in this campaign, I didn't really focus on it as well as I should have, but you can see here, the blue buildings, just because it's a blue building does not always mean that you're going to get the benefits from the blue buildings in here. So you can see here that none of the, you will get, this is a 30% income from commerce right here. Could be another one. There it is. Silk Road Expeditions. Income from spice, silk. Oh, that's not commerce. But there is the purple line, which will give you income from commerce. Income from commerce. So you have to look for other sources that are going to benefit your income, whatever the primary income source is. So you can see even in the yellow line, this whole tree right here, this is income from peasantry, income from all sources, income from industry, silk, and spice, and then this last one, oh, that's just corruption. Sorry, for some reason I thought that one gave from something, but everything will give you some form of income bonus across all of these. I think peasantry ones are down here in the green line, but for the most part, commerce, silk, spices will be found in your blue and your purple. Like taking a look at this one, this is industry, this is construction costs for mines, construction time, but again, commerce and industry right there. So you want to be able to find the reforms that make the most sense for the type of income you're bringing, I've just said. So reforms is another really big way to optimize your commanderies in a really easy fashion, in a very passive fashion, most importantly. You don't really need to invest anything in your reforms outside of taking away from other reforms you were going to invest into. I mean, had I done this route, it would have given me income from industry and income from commerce, but I also would have unlocked sword bands or saber infantry, which is an increase on saber militia. So that's another thing, is making sure you're optimizing your commandery while you're also optimizing your battle map plans, right? So you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to take these benefits to income from commerce and industry. I have a lot of commerce, and I'm also going to get saber infantry out of it. So looking at these reforms will really give you a really good way to plan out your empire. Like if I was South, for instance, where are the peasantry? Food production. This one is food from farming, food income from peasantry. Now, this might seem like, well, where's all the rest of the ones that give you a bonus to income from peasantry? The income from peasantry is generated typically from your food reserves and resources. So as you increase your food, which a lot of these do, it'll increase that income as well. So looking at those things really help to optimize your commandery. In addition, we've kind of already talked about this, but, oh, unfortunately, here, we'll go ahead and he's being recalled. So while this is ending its turn and cycling through, we're going to want to use assignments. If you looked at our basics video, you probably already saw what I'm about to talk about here, but it's worth repeating since we're already kind of on that overall theme right now. But the way that your assignments work are going to depend upon what you need in specific. Close that out. Okay, I get it. Everyone's at war. No one likes anyone. We're all not friends. So, like I said, you cannot have the same exact assignment, but you can stack benefits. So 75% income from commerce, silk, and spice. Let's take a look at our income right now. It's 1900, right? 480 from commerce plus 240%. Gross income across everything, or the commerce income is 1.6K. Now, Lu Ji will give us an additional 50% income bonus for 5 turns, and take a turn to bring them back. Cost, of course, is a reduction to our reserves for 5 turns. We can take it. So we'll assign this. It'll take a turn for it to hit an effect, and we'll end turn one more time. Take a look at that. But assignments, I'm now stacking the 50% of Lu Ji and the 75% of I didn't see what her name was, but I'm stacking those two to get now way more income. So which was 1900 is now, okay, ignore that. I'm trying to do a video game. So it was 1600, it is now 1900. So you look to those little tiny things to improve the scales just a little bit, because as you stack up 5, 10, 15% income from commerce across all these other facets, you can really, really snowball your income. We were at a negative last turn, negative 212. Now we're at positive 63 income a turn. Also, our last little kind of influence on this, which will actually bring us very well into our next portion, are your administrators. Now, your administrators, of course, they do have their static bonuses. Income from all sources will always be the case. But Lu Su in specific is going to give us a 40% income bonus from commerce. Now, that is as a result of his skills, of his ancillaries, and how I've stacked the character. And that'll play very heavily into, again, what we're about to just talk about with character optimization. But really, everything comes down to your commandery. You need income to supply your armies. You can't supply your armies if you don't build the proper buildings, if you don't build the proper things to make it so that your income can snowball. If you don't do that, you will be facing an uphill fight through the majority of your campaign. So that's just simply your commandery optimization. And again, it is not a coincidence that he is blue, with blue commerce and blue trading ports being beneficial, with some blue and also some purple. But you need a little purple to make blue. Some blue reforms. So again, keep those things in mind as you look at all these interwoven characteristics of the campaign map. Moving into character optimization, we have to look at 2 separate things. 1, optimizing levels, and 2, optimizing the role for your character. Now we're looking at Lu Su, who's the administrator of Changsha. And taking a look at his characteristics, we can see that he grants us additional military supplies. He is cunning. Typically, that doesn't necessarily make for a really good administrator. I don't know why you'd make him an administrator, Nine Spartacus. I won't say my actual name. Well, I looked over at his abilities by looking at this, and I saw that he unlocks an assignment called Surplus Distribution, and he has a reduction in his construction time. In addition, he gets an increase to Expertise and Resolve. I looked at Resolve, population growth, looked at Expertise, construction cost reduction. I said, you know what, this is what's gonna do it for me. When I look at other characters, like this tax collector, Lu Ji, he also makes for a very good character that would make a great administrator. When you hover over their well, it's pretty much this whole area will do it for you. It'll give us that passive effect. He's a tax collector. I'm going to get an income bonus from industry, faction-wide, but only if this character is prime minister, heir, or faction leader. Otherwise, it's any one that he administers. So, making him an administrator would give that increase to industry. Going back to Lu Su, you saw all those benefits. Let me go ahead and bring this up one more time. You saw all these benefits. How did I get them? Let's take a look. So, first, we took a look at some followers. At the time I appointed him, I was trying to build the city up. I wanted a reduction in construction time, so I placed the builder in. But just as easily, you can use stuff like this one. The trader, which will increase trade influence, only if this character is prime minister, heir, or faction leader. Also, it will help out if he's the administrator of a commandery. So, as far as accessories go, I did the same thing. Some of them are on here. I don't think it's on. Yeah, none of these, unfortunately, are like that. But armor can be the same because, see, this is part of a set. And the set itself, okay, well, I see that if I get the Imperial Bow, range firing rate, and Tactician's Design. None of these are, unfortunately, the economic ones. But there are some sets that will grant you bonuses to your commandery that you're administering to. When I look at my traits, okay, any of these have anything? Satisfaction in the local county, and then use of penalty. desire for higher office. See, these things, your traits as well, can also benefit everything. Now your skills, I think I took a intuition, income from industry plus 15%. So you look to these skills reserves for administered commandery, food production for the administered commandery. You look for these skills depending on what you need for your administrator in the commandery that he's going to go into. Now this is kind of me segueing into optimizing your character itself, but this is me kind of overall going through things of how I created this quote-unquote great administrator. Now, as I kind of look at Sun Ce, though, for example, let me jump over to this badass-looking bastard. I knew I wanted a cavalry commander. I wanted a character that I knew could jump into the melee and do crap tons of damage. So I said, okay, well, what does Sun Ce have as a benefit? Well, huge bonus to the charge for his cavalry, faction-wide, because he is the heir, so this counts, and 15% melee damage for all shock cav. This is, again, is a faction heir, so this counts for him. Sometimes, if I look at a Huang Gai, sometimes it'll say, let's see, who has it? Interesting. Sometimes it'll be a specific bonus, and it'll say, for this character's retinue. Unfortunately, looks like we don't have any characters like that right now. Maybe tell you? Minus 10% retinue upkeep and morale. That's okay. Unfortunately, none of those are, but you can have some of these abilities that say, for his retinue only. It'll say, in parenthetical notation, retinue. So, I then looked at his instinct. Okay, he's got a lot of melee damage. Recruitment cost is reduced, so that's really nice if I'm going to have a character that's also going to be producing a lot of infantry. Also, I can see that he gets +9 morale for his own retinue because he has an abnormally high authority for Vanguard. So again, taking a look at his attributes as a result of his background, expertise, instinct, authority. Instinct is the primary characteristic of a Vanguard, and he has an uncharacteristically high authority, just like John has an uncharacteristically high instinct for a Sentinel. Looking at these things are going to help you to create this kind of optimized character for the role you have in mind for them. So again, I then took abilities that made the most sense. Mighty Knockback, help with his charge speed. Faction support, that helps out when I'm taking over cities. Enables discipline, though. Does not suffer a morale penalty when the general dies. Would have been way worse overall, but 10% melee armor piercing damage for his own army, which is great. Also, morale enemy territory increases and a good charge bonus for him. And this also helps out by increasing the battle run speed, of own retinue. And his retinue right here is nothing but cav. You would think in that situation, you would want to optimize those abilities. Now, we talked a lot about the colors and how they overlap. Same is said here. This is a red stallion. Notice anything about that, the bonuses of red stallion? Red, instinct are your bonuses. White is typically authority. I think brown is resolve as always. Heavenly fire is what's his nuts? Sun Jian's. So that's unique to him. Red hair is, for example, that one is on Lu Bu. So their legendary mounts are typically with them. But you take a look at these characters, even looking at this. So if I didn't hover over anything, I can't. If I didn't hover over anything, you'd see that this character right there is blue. So he gets a bonus to cunning. White, authority. So you look for these repeating trends, these repeating motifs to kind of realize how you're going to take a look at your character and optimize them. Although this character doesn't have white on him and has authority. So some characters are just kind of like, okay, this guy's got skin. I wouldn't have known he was expertise. I guess you could say by his slightly purple band there. But there's all sorts of ways that you can take a look at your characters, look at what colors correspond to them, and then look at the role you have in mind for them. Okay, I want him to be an administrator. Well, I'm not going to stack red things on him because as an administrator, while population does help, it might not be the focus, or again, it might be the focus of what you want from an administrator. Typically, administrators, you'd want to bolster the construction time or the income in a commandery, and less so the population. A lot of buildings you can do that. But sentinels also make for really strong characters across two different facets. Because if you look at the resolve itself, am I looking at instinct before? Yeah, I was. So yeah, you would not want instinct necessarily for a administrator. So again, now back on resolve, because that's what I was thinking of before, population growth you can get from an administrator. or for an administrator, which again, you have a lot of buildings that can do that. But at the same time, you have a tax collector on this character, so he can do income or increase income from industry. You have his industry from his intuition ability, the same one that you saw on Lu Su, but he has plus 40% income from commerce, silk, and spice for his scholarship trait, same one on Lu Su. There are ways to really take a look at your characters, look at what they have access to, and go, okay, this is what I'm going to choose on my character because I want him to fit this role that I have for my army, for my campaign map. So as you build this out, I encourage you to really look at your characters, really look at what you have in mind for them, and create the color scheme that really matches that role. Again, commanders are built for backline, commanders typically built for backline kind of fortification and really bolstering your troops, right? So, okay, look at this. Okay, nature's ally, great. Gives me speed, gives me morale. Okay, so I'm going to get skills that increase that. I'm going to get skills that say like this one, for example, enables fire arrows, which is hugely important. So cunning and authority are really good on commanders because it helps out with ammunition and military supplies. So look to those benefits and look to see how you can make your characters better. If you have a question about what character maybe fits the role best, like, okay, hey, I'm struggling to find a real true location for strategists. Well, take a look again. Blue. Well, I know they're going to be really great at bringing a lot of archers to the table. In fact, if I even look at the reform section, again, playing into the colors portion, I can see that reforms, I get access to crossbowmen, repeating crossbowmen. And the last one here, I get access to heavy repeating crossbowmen. So you just want to stack those benefits as they make sense. Taking a look at Sun Tzu and the vanguards. Okay, well, there's peasant raiders. Boom, there's Jade Dragons. There's Lance Cavalry. So you know how to build your characters based off of the color that they best correspond with. I think I've beaten that point to a pulp now. But if you have any questions about how to build your characters, guys, please, by all means, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I've played quite a bit of the game so far, so I know quite a bit so far. But we'll go into one last portion on expanding out your spy network, and we're going to do that on a different save here. So let's jump on over to some spies. All right, so we're here with our Gongsun-Dan empire, quite large. You're right there. Gotten pretty huge, the Duchy of Yan here. So to do spies, we need to do a number of things. First, you need to take a look at your court. So I can hover over these characters. Okay, so it looks like BP, he is willing to spy for you. You have to look for this little kind of spy icon. Not all, obviously you took a look here. I went over all these characters and almost none of them wanted to spy. Cowards, all of them. Now, another idea is looking at your candidates. Aha, look at you. So Zheng Lian wants to spy for us. Now, take a look at the level. The higher the level of the character, the better of a spy, or at least the better chance they will of having being placed in the enemy faction. So I kind of would want a higher level character to be a spy for me. Let me see. Let's go with Cheng Jun. Yeah, so, and I'll show you before we appoint him, I'll show you some cool stuff here. So first, we'll jump into the undercover network. And I want to just show you the recruitment process before we talk about these guys a little bit. So assign a new spy. So Cheng Jun is here, and he actually does not like Zhang Fu. They were utterly dissatisfied whilst a general. So I could click this and deploy the spy immediately. But this is about optimization, not cutting corners. Let's not do that. So first, let's go to this. Go here. Recruit this character. So now the character is thing here. There you are. Now, again, focusing on ancillaries, focusing on skills is going to be chief here. Now, I don't think I have any good skills here for spying. Look. Just because a character has cunning doesn't mean they're going to be a good spy, guys. That's another cool thing, or not a cool thing. That's another thing to be mindful of. I made that mistake when I first started doing this. So you want to make sure you're focusing on actual ancillaries and skills that actually increase spying. So unfortunately, I don't have any spying ancillaries. But you would have some that say increase your cover cost, or I'm sorry, reduce your cover cost or increase your undercover network generation. Huh. I think I already placed them on the characters that are out there. Enables guerrilla deployment, which is cool. And not even any armor, nothing cool like that, no weapons. Okay, well, still, you would look for those weapons and items. I can't, unfortunately, look at these, and before sending them out, I would have done that for them. Once you send them out, you cannot swap their ancillaries, and that's how we're doing this now versus waiting until after we send them out. So go back to the undercover network, click the assign a new spy, click Chengjun, and you know what, Cao, we're not friends. I'll deploy him. But now I have to wait for him to get picked up by the faction. And you can make this a little bit quicker of a process, especially if you're at war with that faction, by going and killing some of their characters. As you kill their characters, they're going to want to replace them with generals. Uh-oh, you've just placed a general into their candidate pool. Boom, there you go. So you can see this character is now preparing to spy. So next turn, he'll be in their candidate pool. And then as soon as they recruit him, same thing with Kuai Liang, you'll have this menu. This menu. What? You will have this menu. Now, this menu we've talked about a little bit before, but these are your two currencies. Cover, which is individual. It's based off of the specific character. Undercover network, which you have built in this faction in specific. So if I had placed Chengjun in the Duchy of Shuhan, then he would have appeared, when he was recruited, he would have already had a high undercover network of 100. I see I'm gaining 5 cover per turn by looking at this. Now let's say you don't have any spies, you're just placing your first one. This is your best first mission to use. As you build cover, you press this, and boom, it's a really strong way to build your undercover network quickly so that you get that ramp up. Fortunately, I thought I had a save with these two unlocked with someone as appointed as a commandery or administrator. Don't, unfortunately, but I can still show you what I can do with a commander or with a general. You can issue a military revolt, turn direct command of this spy's retinue, you forcing any other generals to be recalled and granting you a new active army field. So don't get too excited when you read that, right? It doesn't mean you get the full control of an army. It means you get Zhao Yan and anything that the Duchy of Shuhan has invested into him as far as his retinue and any ancillaries he's been placed with, you get those all immediately. You don't get the other two characters that made up that general's retinue. Just get this specific retinue. So it's a really great way to say, okay, yeah, they've got 2 stacks like at my capital right now, but one of them is filled with my spies. Well, I'm going to issue a military revolt and I'm going to get my spy back, and now the tables have turned. You can use undercover network strongly to your own advantage. In addition, unfortunately, this is not here. You can use the same thing for an administrator. You can take over a single commandery, the commandery settlement itself, not the whole entire thing. But lastly, you now have the access of the ruling family. Now, as you build these two up, you can't take over an entire faction using it, but you can cause basically a giant revolt and split the faction down the center with people that ally with you, your spy, and then let's say Duchy of Shuhan and Liu Bei. So you can use this undercover network to really, really, really good advantage to get at least a strong kind of step forward in either a really powerful enemy or a far away enemy you're eventually going to have to go and fight. You can kind of weaken them from within, planting yourself way, way, way deep into their faction. By the time you do fight them, you can start triggering military revolts. You can take over commanderies without having to worry about them. There's a lot of really fun stuff you can do with this. But keep in mind, the same thing can happen to you. You can employ characters that are spies. So there are a lot of abilities, skills, and ancillaries that allow you to kind of root out spies. So you'd want to make sure you're keeping a firm eye on those. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is defection. It appears that this spy has developed a fondness for their false master. We must take care that they do not forget their true loyalties and betray our cause. So in 3 turns, he will go ahead and defect over to the Duchy of Shuhan. He's just having such a better time there. People love it. They get to feed him grapes off of off of like a bed with like a big banana leaf. He fucking loves that shit. So you can just click disown here, and then you lose your spy, but he doesn't defect. So that's the big thing here, is you lose a spy from this nation. He comes back, and you kind of basically rehabilitate him, saying, no, Dong Sun Zan, we got fucking grapes here too, man. You don't want to just leave us. But as a whole there, guys, that kind of covers a lot of our advanced techniques there. Pretty much focusing on those two first ones are going to make the game itself a lot easier, a lot more simple. And as you go about optimizing your characters across those color patterns, or choosing the spy network that makes the most sense for you and what your kind of goals are, you'll find that the game and the barrier of entry is broken down a lot faster when you play the game the way it wants you to play, which is very, very rare, right? Total War games are very much about, like, create your own adventure, and you still very much do that here. But you always have to play it very much so in the scope that the Three Kingdoms is trying to create around the narrative of this era and of these characters. So I hope you enjoyed this video here today, guys. If you have any other questions at all, please go ahead and ask in the comment section below. If you want to see a video on just some quick battle map tactics or tips, I'm more than happy to do a video on that. And that wouldn't be anything like, hey, here's a surefire way to win. It's just like tips of the trade that I don't think that a lot of people learn. Like some things that I didn't even learn until 10 years into playing the damn franchise. So more than happy to do a video on that if you'd like to see one. Both of these videos are going to be supplemented very well with the video I will be doing on all of the currencies for each one of the generals. So in case you don't have any, you're lacking idea of how to increase a currency on a specific general or what its really importance is, I'll be covering each one of those in a 2 or 3. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.